and welcome to QI, the 640-pound gorilla of panel shows. Joining me in the quite interesting enclosure in the zoo tonight are a magnificent silverback, Bill Bailey, a majestic alpha male, Sean Locke, an exotic bird of paradise, Sandy Toksvig, and a faithful old curly-haired retriever, Alan Davies. But for tonight, only an extra treat, all the way from America. It's Mr. John Hodgman! Now, each of their buzzers is more beastly than the next. Bill goes. Sean goes. Sandy goes. Alan goes. And because he doesn't actually have a built-in mushroomoid, John goes. Excellent. Now, tonight we are on the hunt for G-animals. Any animals that start with a G are fair game. Well, goose is a goose. Sandy Toksvig.
Is it toilet paper? No, seriously.
Sandy, that is bizarre. Why did you say that?
Well, because I once read this book by Rabelais, I think it's called Gargantua, and he recommended that the best thing for toilet paper was a live goose. And I have yet to check into a five-star hotel without a sense of disappointment.
I have the quotation from Rabelais' Gargantua. I'll give you it in full, because it's pretty extraordinary. I have, answered Gargantua, by a long and curious experience, found out a means to wipe my bum. The most lordly, the most excellent, and the most convenient that was ever seen. I wiped my tail with a hen, with a cock, with a pullet, with a calfskin, with a hare, with a pigeon, with a cormorant, with an attorney's bag, with a Montero, whatever that is, with a
inside of his toilet, so a whole load.
With a falconer's lure.
And that's why he was thrown out of the pet shop.
You're barred.
Get out! Oh, there's another one, come on.
Told you before.
But to conclude, I say and maintain that of all the torche cool, arse wisps, bum fodders, tail napkins, bunghole cleansers, and white breeches, there is none in the world comparable to the neck of a goose that is well downed, if you hold her head betwixt your legs. And believe me therein upon mine honour, for you will thereby feel in your knockhole a most wonderful pleasure.
Yes.
Both in regard of the softness of the said down,
yes,
and of the temperate heat of the goose, which is easily communicated to the bum gut and the rest of the inwards, insofar as to come even to the regions of the heart and brains.
Why do we need swear words when you've got knockhole?
Yeah.
Can I say one thing?
Yep.
Is it alive?
I fear it probably is.
Yes, I believe that adds a frisson
It has to be alive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When he said
Then
it
you
was
can
warm.
turn it and laugh in its face. We are the master race.
People have been saying for years, why are geese so angry? What's wrong with geese? Why are they so furious?
No, we know.
If there were one animal that I was never going to put anywhere near my bum, it would be a goose.
There's so many other choices of animals you don't want near
Scorpion.
your knockhole.
No, that can be fun.
Get the scorpion to do it. Yeah. And he can get all those tricky little nibbly bits.
Scorpions.
He's got the claws.
Not absorbent enough. It's not absorbent enough.
What about hedgehog? Is that absorbent? That'll get all the bits and it's absorbent.
Yes. It's
You could get the bits from the top half and then whip it round and get the soft.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And you may be onto something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds absurd, but we have just heard that a man did wipe his ass with a goose.
Yeah. So I think you're right. One to wipe, one to polish.
Yeah.
Perfect. There are other things geese can do.
Goose fat.
What you can
use
Goose fat? What do you use goose fat for?
Frying potatoes.
Weapons.
Frying potatoes. Absolutely the best roast potatoes possible. But there's another use for goose fat that used to be common, David Williams, if I was to
Covering
say.
yourself.
Oh, for the
in
swimming.
Oh, for the
They're swimming the channel, yes. They don't anymore because when they rescue people, they slip out of their grasp. Let's go.
Watchdogs. Aren't they good watchdogs?
Ah, yes. They say they're great watchdogs, as you rightly say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Better than a dog, apparently.
Yes. Anything else?
A guide goose for the blind.
A seeing eye goose.
Yeah.
In the world of weaponry, they were very popular for...
Their aim, they've got brilliant aim.
With steady hands.
Who made a famous appearance at Nottingham Goose Fair, according to myth and legend.
Puff Daddy.
Robin. It's like herding cats, isn't it?
I once opened the goose fair.
Good girl
yes,
said...
Robin Hood.
Robin
It
Hood,
was Mr.
thank
Hood.
you. Your
That's
teacher's
okay.
favourite.
And he was a
tonight.
goose.
No, but what was Robin Hood famous for?
Killing geese.
Killing geese.
Do that lovely mime again.
Stretching a
And
goose.
where would a goose come
This
in
is
use?
wiping his bum with a goose.
Yeah.
Feathers on the arrows.
The fletching, exactly. The feathers, the fletching.
Oh.
Goose feathers for arrows, so that's a good one.
Why have they got orange feet?
Because that's why they eat oranges. It's like flamingos with prawns.
It's
Geese eat oranges.
air safety.
Yeah.
Air
But
safety.
Terry's
Air
chocolate
safety,
orange.
Air
yeah,
safety.
yeah.
So they can wave each other in.
Yeah, that's it. There's the bar-headed goose.
All right.
They can fly unbelievable distances.
Up to 10 miles.
They
They can fly backwards.
thousands of miles they fly.
With
They
their
can-
eyes tightly shut.
They have a technique for increasing their range by 70%.
What is it?
Landing on a boat.
That's what I'm asking you. Landing on a what?
On a boat.
No, it's not. Imagining that even before man had any method of technological transport.
Gliding on hot air.
Grabbing onto other...
Lying.
boats.
As used to lie about where they've been.
Oh,
They're always miles over there. They just fly over the mountain, just wait there.
No, if you see geese in the air, there's a shape, isn't there? What is
So
it?
they fly in a V
V,
format.
yeah.
It reduces wind shear.
Oh,
on the
extra
following,
points to our
geese.
popular American visitor. Exactly right, yes. It's the vortices. It calms the air and all the ones behind them. There's less to fight against.
How do you suppose they take those photographs? Do you think it's a sort of passing parachutist that goes, oh, there's a bit of luck, there's some geese going?
That's right. These are very
goose
fine.
going up. He's got his phone out.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh, sorry. Did I mention chimney
No.
sweeps?
Oh, yeah, they fly up and push.
Exactly. So they're used as chimney sweeps. How?
Well, actually, no, don't you drop them from the top? Isn't that what you do?
Yeah,
They use chickens for that as well.
yeah. And as they flap their
They
wings...
flap down, they clear the chimney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mad badgers as well.
And some horses they use for that.
Clean as a whistle.
No, they don't use horses.
It's a squeeze, but they get them down there.
But the uses of gooses, or the ease of geese, range from...
It's the next question, the habits of rabbits.
I wish that it were.
How far can you shove a dove?
Hats of cats. That's my offer.
Anyway, the uses of gooses range from burglar alarms to chimney sweeps, not to mention making excellent roast potatoes, as John pointed out. Which brings us to giraffes. Ah. Now, tell me why giraffes have such short necks.
Short necks.
What?
They've got long necks.
Are you telling me that long thing leading up to their head is not their neck?
No, that's their neck. When I say they have short necks, why would I say they have short necks?
Because you're wrong.
Annoying. I don't know.
It's in relation to their legs their necks are short. In order to drink
Proportionally.
water, most animals, like deer, they don't have to splay out in that very vulnerable and unbalanced and quite tricky position just in order to have a sip of water. But if their necks were longer, they would just dip down and drink the water. Instead, because their legs are so long, is the point.
I have had a stance like that myself in the odd public house, I have to say. It's familiar.
Is that when you spilt your pint on
Yeah,
the
the
floor?
thing, I'm not wasting that.
So, I mean, it's important for it to have long legs. Why is it important for it to have long legs? Well, that might bring us to the next question. Why do giraffes have such long necks?
I presume so they can eat things
Yeah,
in
the
the
tops
trees?
of trees.
Tops of trees.
So that they can see.
Oh, to eat tree tops.
Is that not true, then, Stephen?
Well, actually, they don't eat from the tops of trees. They bend their necks to eat. But the giraffologist community is rather split along two lines. The real reason, many, many people believe, is, see if you can guess, what, I mean, so many things...
Seeing a long distance, seeing
appears to
over
be,
things.
that is very useful, to see each other, to see
who's
over
on the
things.
top deck of the bus.
Yeah, they're in large groups. People used to think they were solitary, but they realise they're in groups, but the groups are just simply very spread out because they can see each other. But a lot of animals have things and objects, and the most noticeable thing about them is there for what reason? Why does a rhino have a horn? Why does a deer have antlers?
Do they fight with their
They
necks?
fight.
They fight. Oh.
They fight other males.
How is this?
What? Oh, ow!
That's what they do. And it's unbelievable. They can kill each other with
That's horrid.
one swipe of their neck. Isn't that a shock?
Come on!
Vicious.
Yeah. They're such graceful, gentle animals, you think. And then look at that.
It's quite a stupid sport, though, really.
Everyone's got the fundamental ducking principle. That's really what they've...
Well,
This be
Just duck.
pleasant.
Duck now. Duck.
This is like that footage they have on ITV of town centres on a Friday night, isn't it? People fighting at bus stops.
Don't you want that in the Olympics? Don't you think they should clear horse guards and have this kind of fighting? I think it'd be marvellous.
It would be good,
yeah,
wouldn't it?
much better, much more interesting. They are incredible. I mean, can you imagine being a baby giraffe and you're just on your way out? You think, oh, hello, that's a long way down. That must
6 foot.
6 foot, what?
Well,
they
6 foot, they're born the size of 6 foot, and they're dropped head first out of their mother's passage.
That would affect you for life, I would have thought.
That's why their necks are so long, to stop the fall.
Maybe you've got it finally once and for
They
all.
plant those horns into the ground and then they stand on their heads until they can walk.
Wait a minute.
Evolution is amazing.
It is, isn't it? So there you are. They're these beautiful animals, and they are graceful and sweet and long eyelashed and sexy and rather desirable in many ways. But they use their necks, it seems, as weapons
you're
of
tall.
war, isn't it? Yes.
Yes, and giants use them in the latrines.
What do giraffes eat? What is their main staple? Well,
Children.
Staple, in fact. No children.
Leaves, plants.
Yes, particular
foliage.
plant.
It's not treetops.
No.
Acacia.
Acacia, exactly.
yeah.
Acacia, which is a thorny plant, which has developed a rather brilliant strategy for trying to put the giraffes off from eating it. It gives out a very bitter taste, but more impressively, it warns its neighbours when giraffes are coming.
What? By going, psst, giraffe.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it sends out chemical signals.
Yeah.
And that provokes the bitter.
And then what do? Run away?
Sadly, that's one thing they can't do.
There's a giraffe coming. Brilliant. Thanks.
So now
Now I'll be all fearful before I die.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah, it's a wind-borne warning burst is the name of this particular
favourite
routine.
sort of burst.
A warning burst. Have you ever done a wind-borne warning... Oh, never mind. But enough with giraffes, I feel. What's the commonest cause of death amongst mountain... Wow!
Is it snowboarding accidents?
Almost is.
Well, just I would think with those horns you'd have a devil's own job getting a helmet on.
Is it assassination?
Yeah.
Not...
A lot of them are assassinations.
Yeah.
You said it.
Falling off.
Falling off
Accidents.
mountains.
Accidents.
Would you believe it? They fall off mountains.
Clumsy?
No, not clumsy. They're unbelievably nimble and secure and sure-footed, but...
They show off.
No, it's worse than that. What is it?
You get big drinkers.
3 to 4 times every hour they...
They flip over like those toys that you wind up.
They try and fly.
They use their horns to...
Scratch their asses.
Fighting.
Fighting. They fight.
Fighting.
They flip them over.
There they are, look.
Look at that.
And that's what...
They knock
nobody
each other
goes.
off the mount.
They knock each other off each other's perches, there you are.
Oh, heavens.
Who put them up there?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's an example of them. That isn't...
Help!
Hey, look!
Help! It's the fastest growing tree in the world, and they all stand there and it goes... whoop.
Oh, dear.
They're going, well, I think we've cleaned this tree off. Let's go, shall we? Very little left here.
I used to be a goat herdsman, so I could get them down for you, if you want.
Wouldn't that just be a goat herd?
Sorry?
Wouldn't that just be a goat herd rather than a goat herdsman?
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
when I was a goat herdsman.
I
I was a goat herd manny thing.
Yeah.
I could have got them down for you, no problems.
Could you? What
I know the call.
What goat herding technique would you have used?
No. Really?
That one moved.
Yeah. I swear you did.
Why do we say he's a bit of an old goat? Why do we say that? Are they randy?
I think they are quite randy goats.
I could sense after a few weeks they found me more and more attractive.
Do you know why?
Is it because they know we've got money?
Money and
Cars. They're actually quite shallow.
I think they like
They
the
see the
fact...
cars and the sexy clothes and the music and the gold.
They're like wags.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe
Wags
I
and
get balls
What
up.
it is our sweat. Under our arms, we have a sort of goaty smell, and female goats go mad for it. So if you wish to attract a female goat, a nanny, yep, that's it. Just waft a bit of your underarm at her.
Cheese.
Well, I used to be in the forest with 26 goats and I never got one approach.
Not
Nothing.
a nibble. Nothing.
Now I feel quite hurt.
Yeah.
Because you're using the link.
Yeah. Now, what did seagulls contribute to the war effort?
Seagulls.
Seagulls. You know, you give a television technician Photoshop.
Did they steal the food out of the hands of the enemy soldiers and then they starved to death?
Is it like the parrots in the Eiffel Tower? They kept parrots in the Eiffel Tower in World War II to warn when aircraft were coming, and they go, "Oh, aircraft coming." That's true. They did.
Surely they'd say des avions viennent.
Yes, obviously. I was translating for the benefit of the
fair
audience,
enough.
but
No, it's not quite that. Again, we have to be in the right war.
Which war?
which war are we
The
in?
First World War we need to
Some
be
sort of
14
message
to 18.
service.
No, there was a new threat that had never been seen in warfare before.
Aeroplanes.
That was one in another medium.
Submarines.
Submarines, yes. And
What is a seagull with a submarine?
Well, let's try and put it all together, shall we? Now, one of the problems with the submarine is you can't see it. There was no sonar, of course, in the First World War. So how do you know where they are?
When they surface.
Well, if they surface, you can see them. But before they surface, another thing that a submarine does is pop up a periscope. So if you could train a seagull to flock towards periscopes by putting food all over the periscopes on your own submarine so that whenever it saw a periscope, it was associated with food and flocked to it, then whenever there was a submarine with its periscope up, the seagulls would flock towards it, and you'd be on your ship and you go, there must be a submarine over there because the seagulls are...
Did they train every seagull in the world to do this? Or did
This
they
is the
keep
problem.
flocks
It
of
didn't
seagulls, so to
work.
speak, on ships?
Surely the flaw in the plan is putting food all over your own periscope so you can't see where you're going.
Well, you only do that in the training area.
Oh, I see. Sorry.
I see.
But they thought, while we're there, they thought, let's get it, not just train it to recognise the enemy's periscope, but to poo all over it so that it will blank out the lens. Genuinely.
This is a terrible plan.
It
It'll
is
never
bad.
work.
It is a bad
Sounds
plan.
like something out of Black Adam. That'll do it. That'll work.
It was a grand plan. Did not work, I'm afraid. But partly because the gulls couldn't distinguish between
idiots.
Stupid creatures.
Well, they couldn't distinguish between enemy submarines and home submarines. But more importantly, when I said seagull, I was making an ornithological mistake.
Albatross.
No, they're not seagulls. They're just
Terns?
Gulls.
They're just gulls.
Gulls.
They're not seabirds, gulls. They're land birds. They don't go far out to sea at all. They live on the edge of the land, admittedly, in cliffs and things. But they, you know...
Do they have
they're not
webbed
like-
feet?
So they don't go that far out.
So if you're looking for a submarine...
Is this upsetting your worldview?
If you're looking for a submarine...
Seagulls.
If you're looking for a submarine in the middle of the Atlantic, the bird's going to say, I'm not going that far.
Yes,
I'm not... Yeah.
basically, that's the problem. It just doesn't go that far out. So, yes, during the First World War, seagulls were trained to search out German submarines and then crap on their periscopes. Pretty clear message. But what is this camel behind me trying to tell you here? What's going on?
Oh, dear.
It's a very disgusted audience, though. They don't like what they see.
I think you say Jeremy Carl's on in a minute.
Do you know, what are we looking at there?
I presume it's a tongue, is it? But is it a sausage?
It's not his tongue, amazingly.
It's his stomach.
It's his palate. It can blow part of his soft palate out. It's called the palatinus diverticulus. It's known as a gullet, and it's used as, again, we've been discussing, it's used in mating. It's used to attract females.
Oh, you really sexy beast, you.
Yeah, it's a heck of a thought, isn't it?
Not working for me.
It appears to be sticking out its tongue. The camels with the most testosterone have the biggest gullet.
That's what they tell you.
Yeah.
It's like that nonsense about bald men being full of testosterone, isn't it?
I know, bless. But, no, the size... What? Way.
Phil's not insulted because he doesn't know. Phil doesn't know he's bald.
I don't know. What do you mean,
He's convinced he's got a big, thick, luscious head of hair.
Well, down my back there is.
I've got that.
Anyway, they do that. They blow out their gullet and they make a bloop, bloop, bloop noise, apparently.
Yeah, blub, 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 blub.
That's the best they've come up with after all these years.
Yeah. In Saudi Arabia and other countries, they often cut the gullet out. Why would they do that? Do you know why?
To stop it? They cut it out.
It's so they
stop
breathe
it
better for
breathing?
camel racing.
Oh, camel racing.
Yeah. Actually, in Saudi Arabia, they import camels from...
Kent.
Yeah.
You set them up so well, Steve. It's very kind
from
of you.
Kent. No, not from Kent.
From Hertfordshire.
Not... Let's disabuse ourselves. Australia is the right answer, yes. Thank you. But why would they import them? What do they need them for?
They're very good at cricket, the
Yes.
Australian one.
The Australian camels are actually much fitter than the
Oh, look, we like
Saudi.
sports.
Yeah.
It's a big outdoors.
No, they don't use them to race, they don't use them for transport, they use the camels they import for...
Food?
Food for meat, camel
They
meat.
eat
Yes.
them. They
They
tell
eat
them
them,
they're
eat
going
them.
to have a lovely
Yeah.
life as a camel race. You'll love it over there, mate. Away you go. Good luck. Give us a call when you've won your first race.
They also import from Australia, the Saudi Arabians, something else, not
Barman.
camels.
That'd be stupid, wouldn't it? Barman in Saudi Arabia.
Sand.
Sand?
Sand?
Really?
Yeah, sand.
They love irony, don't they?
Yes.
They always see the other side of a joke.
It's because the sand in Saudi Arabia is the wrong kind of sand for
Golf.
Throw it in people's eyes.
building. So, yes, male camels impress the ladies by blowing a balloon called a gullet out of their mouth. Speaking of blowing bubbles, why don't goldfish swim into the side of their bowls?
Well, that's stupid, isn't it?
Because they're not stupid. Let me just say, they don't use their eyes to know it's glass, so what do they use to know that there's something there?
Something to do with the pressure of the
Sense.
water or
The pressure of the water is the right answer. They have little pressure sensors, which are similar to the ones we use for our ears. And they activate little gelatinous caps that in themselves activate hairs that tell them, in the same way that our cocktail fluid activates hairs that tells us there's pressure in our ears.
Goldfish don't have hairs. You don't see goldfish with different styles.
emo fit.
Tiny hairs inside.
I love what you've done with your goldfish.
Well, it seems they do. Sharks have the same thing. They have neuromasts as well. They're called the ampoules of Lorenzini. And they detect not pressure, but...
Fear.
Yeah.
Well, no, oddly enough, electricity. Because a lot of fish give off electricity as a sort of weapon. And
So they know when you've left the light on.
Yeah.
He's really beautiful, isn't he? Look at him.
He's a biggie. He's a biggie.
That's a nurse. Is that a nurse?
Is that a nurse?
Well, I was referring to the
Obviously.
brand of
Hospital were
shark.
you born in?
Suddenly had an image of you in a home.
Nurse!
Oh, Lordy bless. Anyway, fish don't use their eyes to navigate. They use a system of pressure detectors along the sides of their body. And so the light fades and our guests head bravely for the waterhole in the full knowledge that any moment they're likely to be dragged underwater and devoured by the savage Gila monster of general ignorance. So fingers on buzzers. Why are there no insects in the sea? Yes, Bill.
Because it's too far
Yes, that's right.
It's too far.
It's too far.
I know.
It's simply too far.
Because
Far out.
water makes them explode.
But there are insects in rivers.
For that.
The salt water, is it? It's not the salt water because there are salt water spiders. Plenty of those. Plenty of sea spiders.
Current's too strong.
Spiders aren't insects. Spiders are not insects. Ha ha!
Exactly. I'm saying there aren't any insects, but there are spiders.
Have they got...
The spiders ain't.
No, it seems to be because there are no trees and there are no flowering plants. You know, there's nothing that they've evolved to deal with exists in the sea. Whereas spiders could live in the sea because they just hunt and they can...
It's a shame, isn't it, really?
It is.
Yeah.
There you go. Now, who goose-stepped their way across Europe in the 1940s? Yay.
Was it a goose?
No. Sorry.
It's worth a try.
It was.
Yes.
Who goose-stepped their way across Europe in the 1940s?
Well, I mean...
We're reluctant to say...
You know...
What? What are you reluctant to say, Alan?
Any reference to
Hitler!
Oh, Hitler. No. The Nazis didn't goose-step in the 1940s.
The Russians.
The Russians is the right answer. But why?
Because they had incredibly stiff starch.
No, but why was the Nazis wrong? Why was the Nazis the wrong answer? Surely they did goose-step.
They didn't do the goose step.
They did do the goose-step, but not in the 1940s. They stopped it in the 1930s. They only goose-stepped in their early years, in the Nuremberg rallies and so forth.
New Year's
Fall out of
resolution.
fashion.
It fell out of fashion and no new recruits were asked to do it. They called it der Stechschritt. Der Stechschritt.
very high impact.
That is a...
Doesn't
Yeah,
look
it's a
good.
That's
terrible
actually
way to
Chinese or Korean, I think, is
That's
it?
Korean, yeah.
North Koreans there.
Yes.
And that's the point. It's very, very hard to do, and it shows just how butch and clever and disciplined you are.
You have to
But
have
no.
tremendously flexible hamstrings to do that, I think.
You all have to be the same height as well, don't you?
Yes.
You do have to
and
be...
Korean, apparently.
Well, Korean or Russian or Chinese or Cuban or Vietnamese or Chilean or Iranian. There you are. So, the Nazis dropped the goose-step in 1940. The only people goose-stepping in Europe for the rest of the war were the Soviets. So I know all you care about now are the scores, and I have them in front of me, and my word, they are fascinating, fascinating to behold. In equal last place on -7, Sean and Bill. Thank you. In third place on -4, it's Alan Davis. How respectable is that? In second place with -3, it's Sandy Toksvig.
Oh, my God.
Which means that our glorious winner is John Hodgman. Bravo. That's it from Sandy, John, Sean, Bill, Alan and me. I leave you with a simple truth gleaned from the blogosphere. Friendship is like wetting your pants. Everyone can see it, but only you can feel its warmth. Thank you and good night.
Well, you can play along with the first series of QI, which is out now on BBC DVD. Tomorrow here on BBC One, it's Joe Brand's turn to ask the questions in Have I Got News For You at 9.